All
Okay.
right. I'll start with myself. I'm Megan Rogers, and I am a grad student in the ALEC department.
Hi, my name's Abby Hahn, and I am a grad student in the ALEC department as well, getting the MRYD degree.
Hi, my name is Kaitlyn Roberts, and I am a grad student in the RPTS department.
My name is Briana Hicks, and I'm a grad student in the ALEC department as well.
Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our games that we created.
All right, so I'm gonna go first with a little icebreaker game. So if you'll click the little triangle in the chat button, maybe, or just the chat button, you'll see where there's the emoji thing. And what we're gonna do is an emoji of the day. So take a minute or two to look through there and just select the emoji that best describes the day that you've had today. You can up to three. I mean,
This is gonna be fun.
At the end, are we going to describe our set emojis?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's perfect. Yeah.
Just making sure, because I don't think mine would make very much sense.
Actually, yeah.
Do we just send them after we're done choosing?
Yeah, once you have them, just go ahead and send them into the chat.
Mm, wait one second. Trying to find one more. Okay. Okay.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Um, Megan, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I'm a 4-H agent over here in Burleson County, so we have a lot of traffic in our office. We're also housed in the courthouse, and elections is going on
Early
currently.
voting, yeah.
Yes. So we get a lot of random people. So my first little hand to the face emoji, um, just describes some of the people that walk into our office. Today we had a lady who said she opened the door just a crack and asked our office manager and said, "Are you Katie?" And she was like, "Yes." She walked all the way up to her desk and said absolutely nothing and then said, "I'm just working elections. I'm trying to kill time." So we don't have, like, there's no point to some people coming in our office at all. We're also the very first door walking in. The second one, the upside down smiley face, it was just a long day. It seemed like it never wanted to end. And then the last one, we got a new backdrop stand sent in today for some of our Share the Fun teams. Um, and it was kind of difficult to put together, and we had to really think on that. So that was my emojis of the day.
Nice. And then Brianna.
Okay. The first one's a cow emoji. So I had my family moved in headfirst to Houston yesterday and today. So I've been getting updates from them. So it's very hard to not be there because that's obviously where my brain is at. That was supposed to be a tired emoji, but I'm thinking that it's not. I think I was supposed to do the other one, but it was supposed to be like a yawning emoji, just as like today's been very long and very crazy. And then the little footsteps, because I've taken like 17,000 steps today. So I was like, that seems appropriate. Those are my three.
Oh. Okay, I'll go next. So the first emoji, just weird, crazy schedule today. I don't know. I felt like kind of all over the place getting things done and yeah. And then the next emoji, I had a phone call with one of my friends today, and she told me that she's canceling her wedding for next month. And so I was like, okay.
We need the story time on that later.
So that was the second emoji. And then the third one, I ended up baking cupcakes for like people's birthdays. And I'm about to go deliver some to my camp boss after this group call. And so I felt like cupcakes were fitting part of today's schedule, which was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're that friend that bakes cupcakes for people's birthdays. Um, my first emoji is like a gust of wind out of the mouth, or a sigh of relief in my case. With starting the new job, I am having to sit in on meetings, but luckily the issues occurred prior to me getting there. So I'm just sitting in on them to learn more about like disciplinary action and stuff like that. So that was kind of my dodged a bullet emoji. Um, the yawn, as I stated, started a new job, still working on this grad project. And so I'm a little tired. And then I sat in an all day training. That's where the third emoji goes in because I feel like we had so much information pushed into our brains. I feel like my brain is going to explode. So there's my brain emoji. So yeah. All right.
Awesome. I guess I can go next. I guess the best way for me to do this is to probably share my screen. Let me figure out how to do that. Oh, can someone let me share my screen? Whoever's in charge of this video call.
Yes. I put multiple participants can share simultaneously. Is that what? Or is it
I
advanced?
got
Okay, cool.
It's
that
shared.
one, yeah.
Okay. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes. Mhm.
Hang on, I gotta let the little bar at the top go away so I can enlarge. Okay. I just figured this would probably be the best way to do this. So we're gonna play categories. We're only gonna do one round. I figured with the time and everyone else doing their games, it'd probably be easier to just do one. So I guess we'll just do it on, you'll write your answers on a piece of paper. And the categories are gonna be the occupation, professions, plants, animal, country, river, city, and name. And we'll have about 50 seconds to do said categories. All right. Is everyone ready?
Wait, is it off like a certain letter or something?
Yeah, it'll show you the letter once I start the game, but it won't start with an X or a Z. I excluded those letters because not very many
Thank you.
things start with those letters. All right. All right, I started the game. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it's C. I just realized occupation and profession are the same thing, so just choose one of those. Okay. I guess we'll just go around sharing. I'll stop sharing my screen. And we will just go around and say what we put. I guess we'll
Do
see.
you want? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Do we want to do like one category at a time, like list how many?
Yeah.
Okay. For the first one, I put CAT scan technician. My brain's chaotic.
I put cat groomer.
I put a cop.
It's good. I'm a cardiologist.
Y'all's were so long.
For the next one, I put cattle rancher. I don't know if that's the right word.
I did college sports coach.
I put a counselor.
I put a cop for that one.
For the next one, I put cow, cat, crocodile, crow, catfish, crawfish.
Is that for the animal?
Yeah,
It's so many. I just put cat.
I didn't know if I had put a
I put crawfish. That's funny.
For the river one, I put Comal River. I don't know
I
if
put that too.
I put the Colorado River.
I didn't have anything for that.
And then for plant, I put cactus.
I
I
took
put
it.
cactus too.
That's all I ended up putting.
For country, I put Canada.
I put China.
I
Tell
me
skipped
what
country
that's-
apparently.
Whenever I looked at country, I was like California. It's like, that's my country. Nope. Did anybody
love
do
that.
city? Or
I
the
did. I
name?
put Charlotte.
Put
Me
Chicago.
too.
Dang it.
Chicago. What about name?
I put Charlie.
Oh, that's cute.
That's my dog's name, so
Aw. I did Caroline.
I put Cooper.
Cooper, that's so cute. Okay, is that it?
Yeah, that was it. The categories were pre-selected, so I didn't have to choose them. So I don't know why there was occupation
and
and
job.
in job. Yeah.
I'm so
Occupation.
sorry if y'all can hear that. My cats are fighting. I'm gonna mute myself.
I can't hear anything.
I can't hear anything either.
Okay, good. I was say they're so loud.
That's so funny. I think I misunderstood, especially for the animal category, because I remember the game that we played for the first group discussion, and I thought that it was similar. And so I thought I had to write as many as I could with that name or whatever, but that's okay. Cool. Okay, so I can start the next game. So I ended up creating a bingo board. And I shared them in the group me. Whenever you open it, it should say that it's generated for each user, and then you'll click OK. So to select whichever like bingo category is called that I'll call on my end, you'll just click on the box that has that subject, and then it'll mark it. And so if you get 5 diagonal or 5 horizontal or 5 vertical, you'll win and then get bingo. But yeah, so all of your cards should be different, and once I call out something, you'll just mark it, and then if you mismark it, you can click on the box again to unselect it. Okay, cool. Let me know if y'all are ready. Okay, so the first one is going to be, so I thought it was funny. I based it on like things for this class. So the first one is ALEC 671. So mark that wherever it is on your card.
Do we need to mark the free space or is
And
it?
then you can mark the free space as well.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know if it was like pre-marked on your end or not.
No. And then the next one is going to be evolving roles of youth workers. And then the next one is Dr. Nelson is awesome. The next one is developmental framework. The next one is components of camp experiences. Is anyone getting close? Okay. The next one is youth programs. The next one is why we play the game. The next one is final project. The next one is intrinsic motivators. Anyone get it yet? Okay. The next one is icebreaker. The next one is growth promoting relationships. The next one is supportive relationships. Did anyone get it?
I'm
No.
like one away.
I'm close. I'm one away in so many places.
Okay. The next one's positive youth development.
I got it.
Woo! Congrats, you're the winner.
Can you see? Oh, I don't know that you can see that.
Oh, I wish.
No, no. I don't know how to make it focus.
That's okay. But yeah, I wish that there would have been a screen sharing option, but that's okay. So that is bingo for y'all.
I was like one away on like 4 different.
Yeah.
I'm so
One,
sorry.
2. I was one away on 3.
Oh
Oh
no.
my goodness. That was the only one that I had 4 in a row.
That's so funny.
Okay, I guess I'll go now. I'm gonna do like a little scavenger hunt, and it's literally just gonna be like 3 things because I want it to be like kind of fast. Um, is everybody kind of like, I guess y'all are like all at home, so this should be fine. Okay. So the 3 items that we're gonna look for is, sorry, uh, very sorry. A kitchen item, a pen or a pencil, and either a photo or your actual pet. Okay, y'all have like a minute. Ready, go.
Okay. I have a pen.
Okay.
Done.
That was so fast.
The perks of living in an RV. Everything's right here.
I have a cup from the kitchen. And
Well,
now
that's all on my
I'm
phone.
gonna go get her dog.
Oh, I'm so excited to see the dog. Y'all can obviously
Oh,
hear my
come here,
cats.
Charlie. Come here.
I was not gonna do this at home, but
Come here.
the choice.
And then Willow's right here.
This is my dog.
Oh, they're so cute.
He's a standard poodle.
Oh,
That's so cute. I have a cat named Doodle. She's right here. Well, she ran away. She doesn't like being held.
I gotta find a picture of my animal.
You're gonna have to send it in the group me. Okay, wait. I want to do mine. I'm gonna go get some of mine. I'm probably not gonna bring them all.
You see that?
Okay.
So my
Oh my
parents,
goodness.
my parents are in the process of moving stuff out of like the storage room, and this is like when it was really cold outside. This is a cat. His name is Hondo. He's a fat cat. He's like 20 pounds. He's huge. But he went with me to college, and then I took him home because obviously I can't have a cat in my trailer because my boyfriend would get really mad at me. But he was cold, so he just laid in the box of jacket outside to keep warm.
That's so cute. This is Bella. This is the oldest cat. I got her when I was a freshman. She's been through it all. She's a good kitty. We love her. She doesn't have a tail. Wait. No tail.
That's adorable.
She's a kitty. She didn't like that. Okay, bye. Anyways, that was a scavenger hunt. Mainly just an excuse to see all your kid little fur babies.
That was so fun.
This is my kitchen
I guess we
utensil. It's silicone, so it doesn't scratch any of my pans, and I really like it. Yeah.
My little
Hobby Lobby.
has little conversions.
Oh, yeah.
That's so handy.
I got it. as a gift after interning in DeWitt County at the extension office, because my final project there was a kids in the kitchen. And we did an Italian theme, and I was looking for a spatula the whole time. So they just gave me a spatula since I was always needing one.
Nice.
That's so
I guess
cool.
we should talk about class now. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll start us off with question 1. It's what are your thoughts from Dr. Willis's discussion on relationships? I had to go and rewatch that lecture video because I didn't catch that was Dr. Willis the first time, but I really liked his talk. I really liked the unconditional positive regard with like the long-term effects of how relationships affect youth rather than just having relationships for certain reasons. So like I think one of the examples he gave was like a coach for a basketball team. They have a relationship for a certain reason. But I think I've heard Dr. Willis talk before in one of my previous undergrad courses. But I really liked his discussion. I connected with it pretty well because I do work with youth. So I took a lot of connections from his talk to what I do. So yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I think it was interesting to learn that unconditional positive regard breeds empathy and patience. And it was interesting to hear his example to the parent that was yelling at his daughter's game. I think it was either a game or practice because he did want his daughter to be the best that she could be, but also when you're getting yelled at to do something, like instead of coached and somebody meeting you at your level, it just makes things a lot harder. And then that can affect the relationship as well, because you might feel like, oh, okay, I'm not perfect, so I'm not like able to achieve the success that they desire from me. Therefore, I'm failing. I don't feel like I'm good enough, like all of these things. And so I just thought that his approach was a really awesome way of how to meet a kid where they're at and how to coach and support them well in what they're doing.
And
I also,
Abby, going off of, sorry.
you're good. You got it.
Okay. Going off of what Abby just said, I was talking to my mom today about the coach for my little sister's softball team. And I was like, wow, since it's someone that she doesn't know, maybe she'll actually listen. And so tying that back to, it's so different having your parent correct you because you have a whole nother relationship with them outside of that sport versus your coach whose job is to correct you in that sport. And so I think that that's one thing that parents don't take into mind. So you're correcting them during the sport, but maybe that not only makes them feel like a failure on the field or on the court, but also they take that failure back home with them of not feeling good enough. So
I definitely agree with that. My focus on, or my favorite part of it was the positive or unconditional positive regard. So the way I took it was like, no matter what, we shouldn't be focused on like what somebody else can give us in a youth development phase or kind of anything. Like it kind of made me think about like, how many times have I done something for somebody because it benefits me? And so now I like kind of want to change my mindset and like trying to bring that into like all facets of my life is making sure that like I'm doing things for the right reasons and not for what it'll do for me. So like everybody deserves a chance and everybody deserves the same resources. And, life's not fair, but what we can do to make it kind of fair would be in our best interest, especially for the kids.
That's a good point.
Very sorry.
Okay. Okay. For the second question, it says week 5's article, 3 huge mistakes we make leading kids and how to correct them, introduce 3 ideas. Was Elmer's approach to children outdated, accurate, relevant to our youth today? Please share your thoughts. Be prepared for different opinions. Try to ground your discussion using literature as well as anecdotal experiences. So I personally believe that Elmer's study is current and relevant today in youth that we see throughout our programs. I feel like screen time and like technology has also had an effect on the risk that kids take because a lot of them aren't outside as much or aren't doing certain activities because they're more engaged with their iPad or with a Nintendo Switch or whatever other technological device they might have right in front of them. So I think that like one of those things is a factor, but I also think that as we are exposed to more and more information today on the news and through social media, it allows our brains to think the worst in the world around us and live in fear oftentimes. So I think that that also impacts the ways that we allow our kids to experience life because as parents, like you would want to protect your kids as youth development practitioners, our job is to keep the kids safe as well. But I think from a parent standpoint, they're like, I want to do everything to make sure that my kid's safe, and okay. One example that I can think back on, from my freshman year in college, I was at a community college and my professor taught at community college, UNT up in North Dallas, and then, she also taught at SMU, and she gave us an example of one of her students from SMU. A parent had reached out and said, "Hey, like, I need to defend my kid's grade. Like, why did he fail this like essay? Like, we know like he met all of the rubric requirements. Like, why did he fail this? Like, I don't understand." And she stood in her kid's position to um take care of him failing, I guess. And she ended up admitting at the end of the conversation that she was the one that wrote her son's paper to keep him from failing the assignment. So she took the time to do what was hard for him to do completely away, and then also stood at the forefront of defending him on why he shouldn't fail that assignment or the class. And so I just thought that that was a really interesting example of um, like parents stepping in front of their kids and not allowing them to experience that failure. I think because a lot of times they're scared of what that'll do to the kid.
I also agreed with the points that were made, and I went to find new literature because I was like, you know what, this is an interesting topic, and I'm glad it's researched. Um, I briefly mentioned in this answer that I wanted to send the article to my sister-in-law so that she could understand why she needs to stop, coddling my niece, but I didn't do that. I was good. But I did find an article that was called Childhood Entitlement Syndrome. What can we do about it? And it made points that directly aligned with the reading that were the three huge mistakes we make. So I found that really interesting because prior to reading the three huge mistakes, I didn't realize that this was like researched. I thought it was just we knew about it because we could see the results, but I didn't know someone that had studied the results. So I thought that was really interesting.
I
Yes.
love that. That's so awesome that you found another article.
Yeah.
Do you want to go, Megan? Or I can go.
It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Okay. I also love this article and I definitely agreed with it. I would say that I didn't see a lot of things like this just with not being around kids a lot. Now I'm a graduate TA, and some of the stories I could tell you, you probably wouldn't believe me, but it just reading through this article, I was like, okay, yeah, I've definitely seen like a lot of these things, and I'm fixing to be an aunt. My brother's having a baby in July, and same thing. I just want to send this to him and be like, hey, make sure you don't do this, because I
It
do
won't make a
think that
difference.
I know. He's nervous. I was like, maybe this will help, but I just think that, we do have a lot of people that like rescue their kids too quickly. And like, I am so against like the everybody gets a trophy, like everybody wins. And it's like, really, no, you don't. Like, there's winners and losers in every single day of your life. And I feel like if kids don't learn that at an early age, like, they're not going to go know how to deal with failure. And that's a huge part of life. Like, we fail more than we succeed. So I feel like people need to learn how to fail and not be praised all the time or saved from failure. Like some people need to hit rock bottom. It always makes me think of like the TV shows where like people pay off their principals or something, like the rich people, and then their kid doesn't get in trouble or something, or they pay off the cops. I don't know. I just watched Pretty Little Liars, so it's a whole thing.
I just saw a TikTok video prior to jumping on this group discussion, and it was a girl like confronting the person who was running the volleyball tournament, and she was in the silver bracket, so not even in the gold bracket. And she was first place in the silver bracket, which meant 13th place, and she was mad that she didn't get a medal. And
I
the
saw
the
that.
lady running the tournament was like, "So you won a medal for 13th place?" She was like, "Well, it's first place of the silver bracket." And she was like, "It's 13th place."
I saw that. I was like, this girl,
The
she's out of
audacity.
line.
Ah,
The audacity is my phrase of the semester with these children.
Yes.
oh,
So just like all of y'all, I thought the information in the article was pretty relevant. So my sister, she has 3 kids. All 3 of them are homeschooled. I've noticed that kids nowadays, there isn't much discipline given, whether it's like saying that they're doing something wrong or just letting them do whatever. Um, and when they come, I'm speaking from like a 4-H agent position now, but when they come to programs that are with other kids or just other people in general, they don't really know how to act. They do whatever they want. I don't know, it just, like y'all said, they want the trophies. They want to be rescued from everything. They want to be the ones that do it correctly every single time. It's just, I don't know. Back to like the screen time. They don't want to give things up because they're so attached to it. But like you said, you don't want to send it to someone else. I did too. Because it's too much coddling. Too much coddling
Yes.
of their kids. And I've seen it with our 4-H kiddos here too. The parents are always the ones asking, like if they have a problem, like if the kids are the ones that have a problem with it, they need to take responsibility, I would say, of either their actions or just in general, taking responsibility for what they want and voicing their own opinion rather than standing behind their parents.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's sad because we can't be frustrated with the kid because it's the parents that are making children think that that behavior is normal and appropriate and acceptable, and it's the parents standing behind them that's enabling them to
Mhm.
act in that way. And so yeah, that's frustrating.
I'm scared for our future.
Same. Especially because we're the leaders of that future.
Yeah.
That have to deal with those kids and their mad
Yes.
parents. Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to, are we done with the question 2?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to question 3, developmental framework, appropriate structure, trained staff, and supportive relationships are linked to what type of environments for youth development? Positive youth development, obviously. Yeah.
That was pretty much the only answer that
Yeah,
I
that's
found. It
that's
was from the
exactly what I put.
article.
Yeah.
So I guess we all just can agree that that's the answer and go from there.
Yeah.
Oh, that means I'm up next. Do y'all
Yes.
have any discussion about 3? Or are we good going to 4?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. So question 4 is, what are some of the threats posed to youth programs in relation to maintaining a group of staff for multiple years? And what I found is like part-time or seasonal workers. So like you have summer camps and then you get those kids, and a lot of times it's, younger age, maybe college age students that come and work for a summer because they have the summer off from school, but then they graduate college and they don't come back. So then you're constantly training new people, and so that would be kind of where it's hard to maintain like a stable group.
I think something that I also found was not everyone is educated, trained, or equipped in the same ways. For them coming in, like I could come in as a graduate from RPTS and have learned a lot of information from youth development or my camp management class, different things like that, and then go to camp. Or my peers could have no background at all, and we could have been trained similarly, but I have a different understanding that they do. And so I think that just like it said in the article, there are all kinds of people going into the field. And there's not always like a same level of where everyone's at before they start a job.
Yeah, one of the things that I wrote was basically if someone goes into a youth program and they think that they're good, they're going to be fine doing it, and then they find that they're not good with kids. Because there's a lot of people who think they're good with kids, but once they get around them and they start doing programs with them, they find that they don't really have the ability or the connection that they should have with the kids. And that can be kind of difficult because they kind of shut down rather than trying more. They just shut down and say, I'm done. I'm not made for this. I've actually seen a couple people this happen too. So
Tying back to the seasonal staff and then the training, the different training levels and like the knowledge that you're bringing to it. Where I've noticed that is like with lifeguards. A city that I worked with, they started hiring at 15 so that they could try to retain for an extra year. So they allowed junior lifeguards at 15, but you don't, most of the people that are lifeguards aren't there because they aspire to be an aquatic coordinator or an aquatics manager over water parks and large facilities. They're there because they want summer money and they want a job where they can hang out with their friends. And so you have the people that are there because they want that experience and they want to eventually move up in that field. But then you also have to realize the position that you're offering, the pay that you're offering, and like a lifeguard is going to be an easy, quote unquote, easy seasonal job that's going to attract young kids that aren't even interested in the field. They just want to be there to sit out at the pool. And those are the ones that you have to understand those are the people that job attracts. And so to like make sure you pay extra close attention to those people because they are lifeguards. And so they could potentially cause a life altering event if they aren't paying attention during their job. But yeah, that's one way where I've seen lifeguard staff turnover almost every season. It's like a brand new 75 new hires for a lifeguard staff. So
yeah, when I was in high school, our city pool, their like employees were just like on a rotation. They'd be there for a little bit because the managers in charge would see that they weren't there for the right reasons. They were there just for the money, or they were just there just to get a tan or whatever. And then it kind of like the employees separated themselves into the ones who want to be there, who want to actually help prevent a problem at the pool, and those who are just there to just be there, to just have a job.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Question 5. This was the bonus question. The human connection submission. Did anyone reach out to the people they wrote about? Some may not be able to for personal reasons.
I did not.
No.
I did. I reached out to both of mine, but only because I go to church with both of them still. And so the Sunday after that submission, I happened to see both of them at church and I talked privately with each one of them and they actually both cried. So that was really touching. They are both women. So I could make them cry easily. It wasn't like, making a burly man cry or anything, but yeah, it was my softball coach who was also my youth director at church. And then my other one was for a lady. She was my first grade teacher and my fifth grade teacher. So it was really sweet to get to talk to them about the impacts that they had on my life. And I knew they had an impact on my life, but digging into that assignment really like opened that up and brought that back to the surface of how thankful I should be for the meaningful adult relationships that I had as a kid. So
Yeah, I actually saw one of them that I wrote about at a stock show. She is one of the new directors for Texas FFA. And she was also my breeder for when I showed cattle. So she kind of took me under her wing and helped me through a lot of difficult times with showing. And she just kind of was basically one of my biggest supporters. And then the other one was my uncle who passed, so I couldn't connect with or talk to him, obviously. But at being young, he just was my biggest supporter, biggest fan, I guess. But I actually wrote college essays over both of them in the past, so finding them as those human connections was kind of easy.
That's really cool. I haven't talked to either of them yet. Both of them were my old babysitters. They had babysat my brother and I like back to back. So one left for college and then the other one came in and then she left for college. And then my mom had stopped working for a brief period of time. And so she was at home and was able to take me and my brother to and from school and stuff like that at that point. But I'm still connected with both of them. We were family friends from our church and we're in the same home group that my family had hosted like up until I think it was 10. And so we were already super connected with their families. And then I was at or in both of their weddings. I like know their kids and it's just super sweet. It's one of the girl's daughter's 5th birthday this coming weekend, which is so cool. And so I'll hopefully get to see her soon, but I keep in touch frequently. And so I feel like sharing that information in one of those conversations could be really cool.
I did not reach out. I haven't seen these people since I was probably 10, so I wouldn't. I mean, I'd have to really try to find out like any information about them, but I see their parents sometimes at like stock shows and stuff like that, but I haven't seen them in a long time.
That's so cool. Okay, we can move on to question number 6. It says, what does it mean for a youth worker to be professional? Do youth workers generally rely on intrinsic or extrinsic motivators to stay in this field? I'm looking for a response gathered from week 6 readings. And so I ended up answering the first question. I don't think I ended up answering the second question, which is my bad, but I'm excited to hear how y'all answered it. But for what does it mean for a youth worker to be professional? I found in the readings that it's based on the relationship that you have with the youth that you're working with. You are supposed to serve as an ally or an advocate or a confidant for those kids. And to be professional in the field, you also are responsible for being trustworthy, loyal, and confidential to whatever information they end up disclosing to you.
Yeah, I basically had the same thing for the youth worker to be professional. It's all about the type of relationship that you have with the youth, because you want to serve as a mentor, you want to be their friend, but you don't want to be, too friendly. And then I would say that youth workers rely on intrinsic motivators. This basically describes the incentive we feel to complete a task simply because we find it interesting or enjoyable. Or at least that's the reasons why I work for youth. I don't do it to get praised. That's like, especially because we go to stock shows and all the time for our job. And I don't go to those to get praise from the parents saying, thank you for coming, thank you for helping. I'm more there just to support the kids because I enjoy supporting the kids. I want to be their number one biggest fan. I'm in the stands rooting them on as they're in the ring. Um, So I would definitely say the intrinsic motivator would be what the youth workers rely on.
I would
Yeah.
definitely
And
agree.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I had the same. No, go ahead.
You got it. You got it.
I had the same for what does it mean for a youth worker to be professional, and I agree. I think it was Abby that said, or no, it was one of y'all that just said about like having that line of having a good relationship with them but keeping it professional. Was it Megan?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. And I think that that's especially like serious to pinpoint, like we were just talking about with the lifeguards being 15 years old. There's a good chance that some of their friends are going to be coming to the pool over the summer while they're working, and so making sure that they know, even though your friends are here, you're still the worker and you're not there to be goofing off, and you still have a job and a responsibility. And I would definitely say to keep youth workers in the field, it would have to be intrinsic. I don't think that the youth development field is like widely known for making bank. And that's what I think of when I think of extrinsic motivators is money, money, money. And so I think 100% intrinsic motivation, because you have to have a passion for the youth and a passion for the field. And I think that that's the people who are in the field and good at their job, it's because they have the passion for it. And that's definitely intrinsic.
I would agree. I had the same things for like what defines them as a professional. One of the quotes that I really liked was passion. Uh, Passion brings people to youth work, but it takes more than a passion to keep them there. I think that definitely clues into intrinsic motivators because I mean if you don't have a passion is an intrinsic motivator in my opinion. So I think that it's something that like you have to keep generating it in yourself. Like I see like a lot of teachers in elementary schools and things like that, they burn out really, really quickly. And not saying that they don't have passion for it, but they don't have those extras. They don't, you have to have like a lot of patience, a lot of like drive to really want to be there and continue dealing with a lot of things that these teachers are having to deal with nowadays, which is a lot. And I definitely don't blame people for leaving education, but I think that it's definitely intrinsic as well.
Um, I think after hearing y'all's responses to that last question, I completely agree. Even like evaluating the different salaries that I'm looking at for potential camp jobs in the future working with kids, I'm like, yeah, it's for sure not about the money. It's about the ways that we can see kids grow through these programs, and for them to be challenged and pushed in different ways that they wouldn't be in their normal day-to-day life. And so I definitely see that like the passion and the drive you have is what pushes you forward and continuing on in the field.
Yeah, when I first interviewed for this position at the Burleson County office, I was also in the running for the Washington County 4-H position. And they kind of offered me both of them, and I had to think really hard and do a lot of research and try to figure out which county I would feel the best in. So I researched a lot of the missions, and I kind of stalked their Facebook pages to see like who the kids are, and just try to get a feel for what the program was as a whole, rather than just saying, oh, you're offering me more money. I wanted to be in a county that was very giving. Our county here in Burleson County is very giving to our program, and I wanted to like better the program, I guess I would say. I didn't, because Washington County has a really good program, but I didn't want to start off in a good program. I wanted to show how I impacted the youth in it and help it grow, if that makes sense. I don't know.
That
Really
makes
does.
sense.
But yeah.
So definitely when you're looking through all your camps that you're applying for and stuff, looking at those missions and seeing what they what they really do, that'd probably be a good thing. I don't know.
All right, are we ready to move on to number 7? Okay, so this is the CRF question, and it says each member will share their thoughts on the question, but the student that asked the question will share their answer last. So I'll ask mine first, and it was, how would you use the concept of age-appropriate risk-taking to enhance a recreation program for a child?
Can you say it again? I'm sorry, I spaced.
No, that's fine. How would you use the concept of age-appropriate risk-taking to enhance a recreational program for a child?
I think that's the best place for them to learn, in a safe environment where they can fail and learn what failure is and say, okay, I failed, and that's okay. How do I do better? How do I make this better for next time? And I think it's a low stakes kind of thing. And like, you don't want anybody, any kid, your kid, your neighbor's kid, whoever's kid, to grow up and get into the real world and fail when it really matters. Like you want them to learn before then.
Yeah, I really liked that. Because when you allow kids to fail in like I guess a safe space, they are more likely to try again rather than just completely shutting down. You want them to be able to get those chances to take risks and challenge themselves in places where they have others around them to help them through it if needed, and basically have a judgmental free zone. Because once they get out into the real world and that's the first time they fail, then it's like, oh my gosh, everyone knows that I failed. They think so lowly of me. But just having that safe space for them to take those risks and challenges is very beneficial.
I think an example I immediately thought of was like a ropes course. Taking kids out to do that on like a field trip, to be in the recreation environment. But age appropriateness is definitely important in different activities as such. Because on like ropes courses or challenge courses, you have different levels of like novice, intermediate, to like the best of the best, like able to do the really hard challenges. And so I think just similar to that, it's important for different activities in recreation to be age appropriate for it to be achievable for the kid trying. So it's not gonna always result in failure. It needs to also have the space to result in success.
I completely agree. And I really like that y'all pointed out the importance of the age appropriate risk taking. And then Abby, you hit on how would we kind of implement that concept. I typed this one out because I had to think about it for a little bit, but I wrote that it involves assessing the level of risk associated with the activity. So similarly, you just talked about the ropes course. And then I think it's important to gradually progress challenges. So if they do the intermediate, or if they do the beginner course really easy, don't just say, oh yeah, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, because then they don't learn how to, they're not challenged, and so then they're going to get bored. And then making sure you implement safety measures, fostering informed decision making. So okay, you've done the easy course twice now, do you want to try to move up to the next one? And if you fail, it's okay, we can try again, which is leading into the next point, which is creating a supportive environment. And then also I like to point out promoting reflection on experiences. So if they go through the beginner course really easily and then they have a little trouble with the next one, like letting them reflect on, you completed something, you did good. Don't only dwell on you fell off of the medium course. You did complete the easy course, and that's why you were able to move up to the harder course, and you got through 2/3 of it, and then you fell. Which part did you fall off of? Let's see how we can do better next time. And so I think doing those age appropriate, I think that is like the key of age appropriate risk taking, is like going through all of those steps, because that's going to build the confidence and the resilience with engaging youth in recreational activities where they can learn how to be successful, but they can also learn the concept of failing sometimes, but then getting back up.
We each need to say our CRF question, right?
Yeah.
I guess I'll go. Mine was, what do you think would happen if programs did not have appropriate structures?
Chaos.
Yes.
Very short. No. I definitely think that you would have a lot less success in like how many kids you're actually reaching to a deeper level. Like you could still have success. I don't think that having a completely wrong structure is gonna derail your entire program, but I do think that it would impact it heavily and that you're not gonna get as many kids, maybe you don't hit all the points that you want to because you don't have the right structure that's kind of designated towards what your goals are. So I think that it could, I think you can always have something that be successful, but it definitely would help to have a structure.
I think so an example that I had is from my youth development practicum class. I think it was like a year ago. But we basically had to put on a program at the Lincoln Center and serve a certain amount of volunteer hours throughout the semester. But we put on our program, I think 2 days a week, serving a certain age bracket of kids that came to their after school care. And one of our first activities that we facilitated with the kids, I think, was four corners outside, but it was like in a gaga ball pit. And so it didn't really have four corners, it had eight. And so like I would say like the structure of the program and our success wasn't really there because we didn't have the resources necessary to do it well. But I think the way that we had set it up too, just like wasn't done well for the kids to want to be motivated to continue on like participating in our activity. And so that was just an example that I got to specifically see working with kids. And then from that point on, we had to start coming up with games and different activities that would be something that they were interested in doing and was set up structurally different. And that also, like Briana was saying, can impact whether or not the kid is taking in what they're supposed to within whatever program they're involved in.
Yeah, I definitely agree, especially with that last part that you said about what the kid is absorbing from the experience. I think if a kid can see that you don't have your stuff together, they're not going to see you as a reliable like source of information. So anything that you're telling them, if they can tell they're like, yeah, you have no idea what you're talking about, then they're not going to get anything that you want them to get from your program. I think structure is so important, and it's amazing how programs can like glide by with very little structure, seeing like the structure of positive youth development, that concept and stuff, like the framework of that, how easy it is really to start that implementation and get that into your program. To see programs run without that structure is shocking to me. But yeah, I definitely don't think even if you have every kid that you thought was going to be there, I don't think that they're going to get what they were supposed to get out of your program if you don't have a structured way to deliver it to them.
Yeah, so like Brianna said, chaos. I had a summer camp this past summer for a lot of our 4-H kids, and each of the agents were in charge of their own day. It was 3 days. So we had my day, which was basically a combination of all the different kinds of 4-H curriculum. So STEM, we did some wildlife and fisheries, crafts, all that kind of stuff, leadership. And then our FCH agent, she did a kids in the kitchen. And then our ag agent, he did just kind of like a ag and natural resource and wildlife fisheries. I was the lead on all of these basically. It was my camp. I claimed it on my reporting system that we have to do. But our ag agent wasn't very planned. He didn't have a really good structure. Well, he didn't have any structure behind his program at all. So as a leader in like a rotation, because I taught about sun safety, we had no idea what was going on. We didn't know when to rotate. We didn't know where they went to next. It was confusing for a lot of the kids because they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know what they were supposed to learn. And as a leader of the groups and stuff, we were also confused. It was very chaotic. There was lots of running back and forth, lots of anger built up because I was like, this isn't turning how it was supposed to be. So especially if you do programs with a group of people and people like everyone has their own like responsibility for it and it's not held up, it just gets sloppy and messy. And I know the kids can tell if we don't have our stuff together. So having that structure and having an appropriate structure is very important because it's not confusing. It's a little bit more smoother rather than just, oh, I forgot a box of sugar or something. But having that structure is so, so important.
For my CRF question stem, I had asked, explain why rescuing a child from failure can hurt them later in life.
I think we touched on this a little bit earlier of just like if we don't allow them to fail now when they're young and it's low stakes, like they're not going to know what to do when they get to being an adult. And it's like they fail for, maybe one of the first times ever and nobody's there to save them. What are they going to do? They're going to spin out of control. And you just, I think that it definitely has a very, very negative impact on a kid later in life.
I've noticed, like with toddler aged kids, that if they fail and parents' eyes are on them, it's a bigger deal. Like there's fits thrown, tantrums come from it, and I never want to do it again. But if you act like you're not watching them and they fail at something, they look to see if you're watching. And then if no one's like running to their aid to help them in their failures, they're like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give that another try. And so just like let them be kids. And it's so important, I think, to not raise a child that only knows how to succeed, because that is such an unrealistic expectation that it's impossible to meet in this world. So
Yeah, when you gave that example, I watched a video a couple days ago. My coworker, her nephew, it's not along the lines of failing, but he hurt himself. And he did it multiple times, and the first time the mom like looked over to him and ran up to him asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" Well, he just starts bawling because he has that attention on him. And then he kept doing it and she would just like look and then look away and he wouldn't cry anymore. I think with kids like that, they're just looking for attention, just to see if someone cares, I guess. Um, and if we care, I know this sounds kind of bad, but like if you care too much, yeah, if you care too much, it's hurting them in the long run. They need that opportunity to fail without their mom and dad by their side. Because whenever they get into the real world, it's going to be like they hit a wall. They're like, what do I do now? The world is ending. So just allowing them to fail by themselves, but just standing by, aware but not aware of the situation, I think could help potentially help in that department of failure and stuff.
Yeah, I have seen that video as well, and it was really interesting to watch the kid get hurt the first time and then the parent turn and be like, are you okay? And then wah, and you can see the immediate switch of reaction. I just think it's so interesting. But yeah, I completely agree with what you guys were saying, that if we rescue our kids from failure, that like they'll basically be adult babies in life. Like they won't be like full grown adults that understand how to appropriately react to things, not throw temper tantrums all the time. I just think like, okay, well, what if an 18-year-old doesn't get accepted into their dream college? Or what if they don't get their like the most wanted or like first job that they most desire? Like what is their reaction gonna be? Like honestly, if they do act like adult babies, like it's going to be really embarrassing to see like that side of, oh dang, like you truly can't handle failure. But I also think that it pushes them to continue to strive for perfectionism instead of their best effort, just like Dr. Willis was talking about in the beginning. And that's not achievable in this life either. So yeah, y'all make great points.
Am I the only one left with the question? Okay,
think
perfect. So this is my question. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? We should allow children to make risky decisions without any guidance.
I disagree. Um, I think we should give them a certain amount of guidance. I don't think that we should give guidance and then if they're still like, no, I really want to try to do that, we're like, but I really don't think it's a good idea. Like at that point, it goes back to the other of allowing them to fail. So, or allowing them to succeed through something that's challenging just because we don't think it's something that we would advise them to do doesn't mean it's something that they can't do. So let them make reasonable risks. Obviously, don't let them, they're like, no, I really think I can jump off this 20-foot building and survive with no broken bones. Like, maybe don't allow them to do something like that. At that point, no. But if they're like, you know, I did pretty good on the beginner ropes course. I think I want to move up to the medium after only completing it once. And you're like, maybe you should try the beginner one more time before you go to the medium. They're like, no, I think I can do it. Okay, go for it. Go ahead. So like allowing them to make appropriate risks where they have the ability to fail, but they also have the ability to like succeed through a challenging task.
Yeah, I agree. I think that boundaries are super important because I think as soon as you had shared that statement, my brain thought to the worst of the worst for risky behavior. And I was like, no, we don't need our kids making these decisions without any guidance and just doing whatever the heck they want, because that is really dangerous and could be very harmful or potentially lethal to them. And we don't want that for our kids. But yeah, I agree that there should be boundaries. And I guess guidance in the very beginning, but I think that there is a point also of the kid being confident in their ability of doing said thing and like getting to do it on their own at that point of like, okay, like I'll take my hands off and let them do their thing. But yeah, I definitely think that it's dependent on what the risky behavior is.
yeah, I agree with both of y'all. We have to allow them to do challenging and risky things to a certain extent. We have to have our eye on them to make sure they're not, you know, completely harming themselves in a way or anything like that. But just having those boundaries set, like you said, Kaitlyn, if they pass the first ropes course and they want to move on to the second one, just giving them, well, why don't you try it again, to make sure you have a 100%. And if they say, no, I think I haven't, then go for it. If you fail, you fail. You learned your lesson, basically. But just having a little bit of guidance, I think goes a long way with situations, with youth like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of y'all. I disagree with my statement. So they definitely need guidance. So I think y'all really hit on a lot of those. Um, I think if we're all good, we can move to question 8. I'll start that one. So question 8 is, what are the features of warm and emotionally supportive relationships? I'm looking for a response gathered from week 6 readings. You may share your own opinions as well. So what I found from the readings was genuine engagement, empathy, and feelings of safety. I think feeling of safety is probably like my favorite one of like you're not gonna have a warm and emotionally supportive relationship if that person doesn't trust you and think that they're safe talking to you and that they know that what they're saying to you is not going to be spread around to everybody else and that you really genuinely care about their well-being.
Yeah, I pulled from chapter 16 on 396 and 397. It talked about the different relationships, and I really pulled some bullet points from the developmental relationships. Because I like the saw genuine potential in youth, and I think that hits on that emotional aspect that you were talking about, and being youth centered. I also really like that one. So that is where I pulled that from. But yeah, I completely agree with the points that you made for sure.
Yeah. One of the quotes that I had pulled from that chapter as well says consistency and predictability are critical as are authenticity, empathy, and positive regard. I think in that, like, the authenticity part was really interesting to me because um for a kid to trust you, you have to be open and honest and also willing to share part of your life with them. I think that that's something that shares the warmth or the emotional support because you can share like, okay, I know what you're going through or what you've been through because I've been there as well, and this is part of my story. That just builds the relationship. And then same with the consistency and predictability. If kids from hard backgrounds just like are challenged because the people in their lives have um left them or they're used to people leaving in their lives, I think it's difficult for them to build close relationships with adults that they feel cared for or trusted by. And so that consistency and predictability is also what can build that.
Yeah, y'all guys kind of summarized everything that I wrote in that question. Um, One of the things with my line of work is having that sense of safety, is really important. Because if the kid doesn't trust you, then you're not going to get anywhere with any like the relationship at all. But just having that sense of safety, letting them know that you're there for them no matter what happens in any situation, and being consistent with how you approach things is really important. All right, I guess we'll move on to number 9. What behavioral scientist is mentioned with zone of proximal development? Why do you think this is important? Do you have examples of developmental processes when you were young? I was not able to answer that last one. I didn't get to it. But Dungotzi, he was the scientist, mentioned the proximal development. What I got from it, it's the area between they have it and they don't. And that's where the guidance comes in. It's the range of what they can do with their own abilities.
Yeah, I agree. An example that I found of that was if you have a kid in the classroom learning math and they have mastered addition, well, okay, like the zone of proximal development wouldn't be to just let the kid jump ahead to trigonometry. It'd be like, oh, okay, like let's start with another simple concept that they could probably understand after having mastered this concept, which would be simple or basic subtraction. And so just moving up to the next thing where they can be guided in that is where the zone is, where it's not completely impossible, but there is that form of guidance.
The example that I pulled from growing up, I had an older brother and we both played like softball and baseball. And so when he was outside, like playing catch with my dad, I would go out there and my dad would adjust like how hard he threw to my brother versus how hard he threw to me because there was a 3-year age difference there. And so, when I was in T-ball, he wasn't obviously throwing to me as hard as he was throwing to my brother who was starting kid pitch. And so I really like credit my dad with the capability of knowing like that zone of proximal development. And I guarantee you, if I mention this idea of zone of proximal development, he's gonna be like, what? But he did it without realizing that he was doing it, because he adjusted, knowing our skill sets were different. He adjusted the tasks and the expectations for how hard he expected us to be able to, how hard he was able to throw with us being able to catch it. So that was my example.
My example is from actually like being a little bit older. So I'm on a junior board, and we used to not have like a minimum age that you had to be. So I got on the board when I was like 17, but we had some people on there that were 14 and they struggled a lot. We do like ad sales and stuff. And so now that I'm older and we've kind of been through all these ages, and we've started now like an ambassador program to where like these kids can come in and see like, okay, what's it like to be on the board? And I think it's like they have some of those skills of like people skills and being able to talk to people, but maybe they don't have the specific of like, how do I go up to this person and get them to give me their money type thing. So it's like a way for them to have a buddy system and like learn the ropes before we just chunk them out in the deep water and say swim. So I think that was kind of where my head went on that.
I will be right back. My hotspot is dying, and if my hotspot dies, y'all will be gone. So I will be right back.
We're almost done.
You're muted.
Abby's
Did you notice
muted.
my dog jump up in my lap?
Dude, my cats have been going crazy. I swear they're always asleep at this time. And so I was like,
Yeah.
it's fine, I can do it at home. I didn't want to go up to the school or anywhere. And I was like, they'll be fine. And they're like fighting. I keep muting it because
Yeah.
they're
Well,
literally having
she's
it out.
squeaking her toy right now, so
Aw. And then they keep
yeah.
jumping up here, so I'm like trying to adjust it, and I didn't even know how to blur the background until like 5 minutes ago, but I was like, I've got to do something.
Dr. Nelson will just have to enjoy our animal interruptions.
I'll have to like do introductions for him sometime. Be like, these are my cats. It is a zoo over here, to say the least. I have too big of a heart.
That's so fun.
Okay.
Are you ready for
Question?
question number 10?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. It says, what progress have you made with your final project and program activity assignments? Share your ideas with the group. Okay. So for the final project, I think I'm going to conduct a similar program to either Impact Retreat or College Retreat that my church just put on, but obviously not for the same age group. I'm just going to look at the ways that they programmed and like coordinated everything and try to break it down for a younger demographic. Obviously, that's what the project is for. But yeah, it'll probably be ministry based and just a similar structure to what those two. And then for the program activity assignments, I work with a couple people that have been site directors for camp, and so they have like a ton of games and activities in their back pockets. And I've asked, hey, can I schedule time to sit down with you and see what some good options are for this project? And so I've connected with people that can help and be a support and resource in those areas, but I've not quite like gotten specific ideas just yet.
I have done a lot of research on the games for the program activities, because one of my categories is a way to get basically a noisy cafeteria like to behave. And it's like I don't know. Because when you think of cafeteria, I think of school, and kids are usually eating and they don't want to pay attention to anyone. So I've had to do a lot of research on that one. But I work with a lot of 4-Hers, and a lot of them are homeschooled, so I might try to convince them to come to the office to do said games. Because a lot, like the people who work in my office were not always there at the same time, so it's going to be kind of difficult to get them to help me. But I think being able to utilize those kids, they could put it on the resume, right?
Yeah, I'm planning on working with the director at my church. They're about to start, they just bought the new or this year's coming up vacation Bible school program. And so I want to work with them and look back on previous programs because I did get to volunteer for those in the previous years. So something similar to that faith-based program for my final project. And then the program activities, I'm not sure yet on that. I know that I haven't looked back at my themes. I looked at it once and I didn't think about it again, which is probably not the answer that Dr. Nelson wants to hear. So I'm sorry about that. But I will look at it again and I'll start researching as soon as I finish my final defense.
Well, don't worry, I'll make him feel worse. I haven't thought about either one of them. So this is a good reminder for me to get on that. So yeah, that's my update. Not much of one.
And if y'all ever need help with like gathering people for it, I'm more than welcome to hop on a Zoom call and help y'all with y'all's like participate in said activities because I know sometimes it's hard to get people, especially with like an online course.
Yeah.
I'm more than welcome to hop on.
Yeah. And I think that ties into question 11, which is, do you have participants for your icebreaker games? If not, how can you get them? Look at there. We had a volunteer. And have you reached out to your classmates? Did Dr. Nelson put too many questions in this question? Yeah, I'll start with that. No, I don't have any participants currently, but I am fingers crossed, hoping that I can force my younger sisters into participating because I think it'd be good for them. They're at a good age. They're 8 and 9. They have nothing better to do. So yeah, Megan just reached out to us. So yeah, technically I haven't reached out to a classmate, but they reached out to me. And yes, Dr. Nelson, you did put too many questions in this question.
That's funny. I've talked to my roommates and I'm probably gonna force them to be a part of my activities. And then I am the kids intern at Restoration in Bryan. And so I have a lot of like friends that are in the residency program that are similar age that would probably be so down to be a part of activities like this, and I see them on Thursdays, and so that's an option. But also, you guys being a part of it is great as well.
I have a well, it's not a random question. How many people are supposed to be in this group? It's
I think it depends on your game.
Yeah, I
okay,
don't.
It depends on the game.
Some of the examples, I think there's like 5, but it was like that chicken game. I think it just depends on what activity you do.
I guess I should research that.
Yeah.
I'll get on that. I mean, I have access to people. I haven't necessarily asked anybody, but I have some people that I work with I can ask, or some friend groups that I can make do it. It doesn't have to be like a certain age, I guess. We don't have to find like actual kids. That would probably be a liability.
Like I said in the last question, I can get some of my 4-Hers, the homeschooled ones, they can come during the day and do it. And then I kind of thought about getting my council kids because we have a council meeting coming up. But then I got to thinking that maybe they would not be appropriate. Because they're typical high school students. Because they don't take anything seriously. But I could probably coax them and say, you can put this in your record book because I kind of push doing record books with the 4-H program and turning them in, and they could put it on their resume. Maybe not.
Is this my question? Wait.
Yeah, I think so.
Is this my question? Okay. What is Dr. Nelson's office phone number? When is a good time to call him? And do you think he would chat about assignments, projects, or icebreakers? Yes, he will. So, I'll say his phone number and then we can go around, maybe. His phone number is 979-845-9781.
I found that too.
Yes.
I think in his syllabus said that his office hours are on Monday from like noon to 1. But he can also do things by appointment. So I guess you can walk into his office during that time and he'd be more than welcome to help you. and talk about the assignments, projects, and icebreakers. On the previous assignments, he's given lots of feedback. And I really appreciate all the feedback because he puts time and effort into them, because I've had professors in the past who absolutely do nothing of that sort, and it just feels like you're submitting things to the interweb. But yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. And I know those are his set office hours, just Monday from 12 to 1, but I've had another class, 670 with Dr. Nelson, which was in person. Um, he's great. I mean, I feel like at any time you could pick up the phone and call him, and if he doesn't answer, he's gonna call you back or he's gonna reach out in some way, and have no problem talking to you about your assignments. And even if it's an assignment from another class that you think he might be able to help you with that's related, I feel like he's that kind of person that he goes above and beyond for his students for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
I put probably a weekday between like 8 and 5, so like normal work hours, to call him that he might be in his office, but I also know that his schedule can be very all over the place, and so it really just depends if he's there or not. But giving it a try on a weekday during those times is probably a better shot than not.
I think
Well,
the
I think
general
that's
rule
it.
for like professors is emailing Monday through Friday, or not Friday, Monday through Thursday from 8 to 5. And if you they'll typically respond within a couple days, hours. But on Fridays it's kind of iffy. But
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
done.
I'm gonna stop recording now.